Welcome to Dragon Valley. Majority of the player base most likely have never heard this map. For those who don't know, this map is from a time in the Battlefield franchise that I like to refer to as the glory days, going all the way back to Battlefield 2 in 2005, which recently had its 10-year anniversary, so a perfect time to announce the classic content, which obviously it looks like Dice LA did actually plan for. For me, Battlefield 2 quickly became my main game that I had on my first gaming PC, and all the awesome mods like Project Reality extended its lifespan to the point even 10 years later it's still surviving with a half-decent player base. I imagine a big chunk of the BF4 player base either joined the franchise at BF3 or Bad Company 2, so I'm extremely happy Dice LA decided to go with a true classic that's never been remastered before and is a large vehicle-based map that represents more of a classic Battlefield. So far, from what I've played on CTE, I think Dragon Valley works rather well in Battlefield 4. Yes, it still needs some polishing here and there, but that's why it's on CTE, for DICE to have a chance to take our feedback and do all the final touch-ups. A lot of you are probably wondering though, why is it taking such a long time for the classic map prototype to show itself? I've been thinking the same thing, to be honest, but secretly I've thought to myself, maybe they're working on some of the old maps from Battlefield 2 or 1942, which those maps were on a pretty old game engine, and I imagine very little or pretty much none of the assets could be easily brought over to the Frostbite engine, and because of that the entire map would need to be redeveloped, and possibly is why it's taken such a long time. Dragon Valley is ranked in my top 5 BF2 maps for a number of reasons. The gameplay flowed very nicely, it worked with 16, 32 and 64 players, and if my memory is correct, the map was originally designed for Conquest Assault game mode, but still works in normal Conquest perfectly fine. Dragon Valley is in no means a close quarters infantry map, it's a very big open field map with tons of land and air vehicles, but not to the point you were continuously being overrun by vehicles. Infantry, land and air vehicles all have their places to fight in, and the narrow nature of the map keeps the action somewhat consistent. And these features of the map mostly have made its way over to Battlefield 4's version, but there are some things I don't like that I'm sure can be easily fixed, but I'll talk more about that later in the video. Let's first compare the map layout from BF2 and BF4. I had to flip the BF4 map upside down to match BF2's map layout, but as we can see we have the same amount of capture points and they're pretty much in the same location. You'll notice that BF4's version still has a narrow layout, but there are some landscape alterations around the US spawn on the right side and other various locations on the map. If you play Dragon Valley in BF2, you'll straight away realise just how many hills the map has in BF4. As for vehicles, we have access to the attack and scout heli, jets, LEVs, tanks and other transport vehicles, though I do think we need just a few more transport vehicles. I did find myself needing to be on foot quite often. Also, one thing I wasn't expecting, bridge repairs are back, which is really cool to see. I love little features like this, and it also doesn't take that much effort to even repair a bridge, just hold down the trigger for around 1 second. So what about the overall look of the map and how each capture point is structured? I want to show you guys some examples of various points of the map and how it used to look in Battlefield 2. The US spawn is very similar here at the docks. We still have the aircraft carrier in the background, but in BF2 the fog and draw distance covers the ship so we can't actually see it, and obviously the layout has changed quite a bit. The temple structure in the middle of the map has been completely changed. In BF2, as we can see on the left side, it's actually quite small and lower to the ground level. In BF4, the whole entire complex is a lot bigger and is situated on top of a hill that looks over the rest of the map. I think that's a good design decision, as if it's lower to the ground then it's going to be Hangar 21 all over again. The capture point near the dam has seen a few adjustments. For starters, there's an actual waterfall and the tall buildings beside the flag have been removed, and we now have this kind of wall with a few buildings down below. Also, I just want to talk about the colours and the overall look of the map for a sec. I was a little worried about this. I thought with all the Chinese theme we might see colours and the overall map detail very similar to what we saw in China Rising. Luckily that's not the case. I feel like the map has its own unique look to it. Kind of reminded me a bit of Giants of Corellia with a more light green look. However, in BF2's version of Dragon Valley there's a slight fog over the map like we can see here. And this not only helped to capture the theme of the map but also provided some cover for infantry, which leads me to my concern for this map at this current point of time. Quite simply, there needs to be more cover. In the patch notes, Diasolate did mention that in BF2 the map worked fine because of the low draw distance, and the map had a slight fog around it like I showed you before. I was really hoping we'll see this feature in BF4's version. I think a slight fog around various parts of the map would look amazing and hopefully will improve cover for infantry. Yes, there are rocks and foliage around the map to act as cover, but Capture Point E is almost a complete death zone, especially if all the enemy team is focusing towards it. There are buildings here at this point, much like in the BF2's version, but as we can see from the bird's eye view, those buildings are destroyed pretty damn quick in BF4. So I propose maybe adding a few indestructible rocks around the boundary just high enough for infantry to actually use as cover. Not too sure if you guys will agree with me or not, but I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. So to summarise, the 7 games I played of Dragon Valley, the gameplay flowed rather nicely. There's plenty of laneways for infantry to get around, and for the most part I was impressed with the state of the map. I did have flashbacks from the BF2 days, which was a good sign, but like I said, the map needs more cover at various places, especially around the E flag. But at the end of the day, I'm really glad Diasolate have brought us a classic map for BF4. I think they do deserve a pat on the back. Also, if you're going to hop into CTE to try the map out for yourself, don't expect to get crazy high frame rates. It seems like optimization hasn't really been done. I did notice I was getting rather low FPS compared to what I normally get on retail. But anyway guys, make sure to let me know your thoughts about Dragon Valley. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.